Flights are pricey, planning feels chaotic, and that trip that keeps getting pushed because you're too busy or travel's too expensive. Welcome to Points, Cards, and Travel. I'm Ross, the founder of Itinerary Boss. I've made the mistakes of doing this for 10 plus years so you don't have to. Each week, you'll get practical tools, point strategies, and expert guests with real use cases so you can travel better for way less using points and miles. Quick thing before we bring on our guests, if you're new here, go ahead and grab my free 5 step roadmap to your next free 5 star luxury vacation and the one card that gets you there, which you can find in the show notes. Now, let's bring on our guest and get into it. Hey, Scott, welcome to Points, Cards, and Travel. How are you doing today?
Hey Ross, I'm good.
Thanks so much for hopping on. I love it, man. And
Yeah.
this is going to be a fun one. We for you guys. I know we introed Scott earlier, but he's a stand-up comedian, and he's also been in a coaching course that I was a part of. So we've shared a bond, but also there's some cool stuff that he has that he's going to share today about how he's leveraging cards to grow and scale his business and also invest in himself. So really appreciate you taking the time today and joining us.
Yeah, thanks. I'm in a swivel chair, so I just wanted to use all the capabilities in my intro. I don't know if it looked as cool as I thought it did, but in my mind, it looked really cool. So,
Yeah,
we'll find
that's
out later. But yeah, I'm excited to chat about this. It's good to talk to you.
yeah, man. Thanks again for hopping on. But I know we were talking, and just from a couple conversations, I know you were investing some. You travel a good amount for you do stand up comedy. You also have a speaking coaching business where you work with corporations to help people just speak better. I think that's a challenge that a lot of people would rather. Some people their second fear over after death is public speaking. So for you, I mean, for your business expenses, right? Investments, other things like that, you have to invest to grow the business. What do you feel like were some of the limitations around that?
You froze on me, so I actually didn't hear the question. Can we take it again?
Yeah, but before we were chatting, I know you were talking about you wanted to invest, in your business. You wanted to start to grow it. You wanted to make some just investments since you're on the road. For you, stand-up comedy also feeds into your speaking coaching business. But what felt limiting, right, before we talked about kind of making some of those investments?
Yeah, so I'm a one man business. I started my company's called Bedgood Marketing. I do content marketing. I also do speaker coaching, and I'm also a stand-up comedian. And so I have these a lot of different things going together, but it's just me. I don't have employees. I don't have a building. I don't have like these large investments. But there are times when the margins can be tight or when there's expenses that, I need to make investments in the business, but I don't have necessarily the margin, or I don't want to go into a situation where I'm like taking out a loan or where I'm doing anything, incurring debt or risk into the business because I mean, it's just me. It's how I feed my family. And I'm honestly just like kind of debt averse in general. And so I was using just a regular Chase business card and paying it off every month and getting the points for that. And I'm a big fan of points. I don't have the level of spend that a normal Ross Alcorn client would have. But yeah, I thought that was just kind of like that's what cards are for. Like you use a card to just get the points. You use the points when you need to travel, and I like to travel with my family and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of what I was doing before we had our conversation regarding the 0% interest cards. So yeah, that was kind of the background there. But yeah, I'll let you walk us through the rest of the questions. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of that was where I was at before for sure.
Yeah, man. No, and I appreciate that. And I always like people sharing, their thoughts because and for people who are listening, if you're a new listener, I'm all about financial responsibility. It's not about, hey, let's go get 100 credit cards and hack the system, right? It's how do you put the right 2 to 3 cards in place, whether that's on your personal, and if you have a business, right, you have an upper hand because you have personal cards and business cards that you can earn points on. But at the end of the day, you need to be financially responsible. You need to be making right, having the budgets in place, paying those off. And then once you have that, then it's like, how do you get rewarded? How do you get points? And if you like to travel, right, it aligns with those specific goals. And when we started talking, I mean, I came across 0% interest credit cards when we started our real estate, company, because you have a lot of expenses up front with furnishing properties. When I started Itinerary Boss, it was like, I want to invest in some of this stuff, but right, I have no revenue coming in. I just started this company. There's things that go into it. So that's the nice part, is you give some of that buffer and you can also get a welcome bonus. But I would love to hear from you, like when you first came across and heard about 0% interest credit cards, what was your reaction? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably go back and look at the email I sent you, but I was just like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, there's a credit card, and if I spend on it and then I don't pay it off every month, they're not gonna ding me. Like that just didn't make any sense to me. Right? And maybe there's people listening like, what an idiot. But I just like I've had a credit card since I was, I don't know, 20 or something. I've always paid it off every month. I just have it because you get points with it versus a debit card. And that's kind of how I was using it with my business. So the idea that like I could make investments in my business and not have to then have the cash to immediately pay that off was really appealing because, yeah, like you said, there's upfront costs with the business, and so moving my business from all content marketing towards the speaker coaching, being able to kind of fold what had been a hobby or a side hustle of stand-up comedy into my business, and going, oh, like I'm going to need to travel for these gigs, right? I'm going to need to invest in some software or some coaching or some even just equipment, right? Buying a camera, buying things that help the stand up and the coaching and the whatever beyond, because the content marketing, frankly, there's just not a lot of expenses with that. And so I didn't really need to worry about it. And so the idea that there was a way to invest in the business without having to take out a loan, without having to do some things when the income may be in the future, right? When the income is coming down the line, right? I booked flights for the comedy gig in June, right? I'm not getting paid for that till June, but I
Yeah.
could pay for it now and not be like, I got to come up with them, like that has been really, I just didn't understand that that was honestly like a thing. So I think I did send you an email that was like,
If this episode's helping you out, could you hit that follow or subscribe button and also leave a quick 5-star rating wherever you're listening?
tell me, like, explain this to me like I'm five, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not following this. And you're like, yeah, it's a welcome offer. It's not like a permanent. It's not always 0%. I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, how are they making money?
Yeah.
So what is it was like? Oh, it's a like a I think it's the first year or something
Yeah.
like that. I was like, okay, that makes sense because that would be why you would use it in your
Yeah.
first year to make these investments, and then hopefully the money starts coming in, pay it off. So yeah, it was very eye opening, honestly. Like. Um, a huge weight off my shoulders, frankly. Like I was feeling pressure of like I've got to get close like deals now because if I've spent this money on this investment, I've got to make it make me money quickly. And now going, okay, I can invest and it doesn't have to be paid off immediately, and it's still a smart investment because that pay will, the reward will come later in the year. Has been really eye-opening. But I also like what you said about the responsibility piece of that's kind of my when I first started hearing about people that do kind of what you do, which is like maximizing your points spend, or when I hear people who are like really into credit card points, my first thought is often like this dude spends a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? That just sounded irresponsible. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is. There are absolutely people who are just spending money and they think, that like the credit card kind of
Yeah.
has a magic over them that they're like, I am getting points. You're like, you're wasting. You wouldn't be spending this money anyway. But, listening to how you talk about it, where you're like, if you are spending this money on your business, you're now losing money if you're not maximizing how you spend, how you earn your points and how you use those points. That was very eye-opening. And honestly, like, I think it's really a cool thing that you're doing for business owners.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you kind of going into depth there because, yeah, I mean, that's the value of it. And again, I want to go back to, if you're a first time listener or if you're just listening, your card, 0% interest cards are great. But like Scott said, you want to be financially responsible, right? When you get it, if you're putting money on it, you want to pay down the statement balance each month. So, if you have $1,000 on it, it might be $20, whatever that may be. Great. You pay that off, you have it on auto pay, and then you know the date that it's coming up due. And you don't just go wild and spend on everything. But like Scott said, it gives you, he knows he's getting paid in June. It gives him that buffer of, okay, cool, I have a gig each month, and it helps you, right, give that ramp up or invest in things that are going to grow your business longer term, versus in the day to day where you might not make that investment and you might miss it on money. So I think that's like the first point that you made that I it's really valuable and it's impactful. And yeah, man, I think it's just giving, a lot of people don't know that. And yeah, there are people out there that it's like, hey, I use this card to then buy gold, to then flip, to then this and that, and spend so much money. But I think when it comes back down to it, it's just like, dude, if you're spending money personally, everyone has expenses. If you're spending money in your business, you need to spend to make, you just have to, right? To grow and to run a business. But it's like, if you're doing all the right things, get rewarded. And I think for, obviously I'm very passionate about traveling. I know we'll get into it in a little bit later with your background, but yeah, it's like if you're already paying for travel in cash on the personal side and you're not even earning points on the business or personal side, like you're missing out on, I mean, ultimately free dollars, right? So it's like there's a lot that you can do, and a lot of people can. So yeah, man, I appreciate you sharing that. Is there, I guess, just from a more responsibility versus risky when someone's kind of looking at this between loans, maybe if they're, at kind of that stage of their business, where they're wanting to invest, right? They're kind of where you are, where I'm at, where maybe they want to use some of these card strategies. What made this feel a little bit more responsible, than risky for you versus maybe a different type of loan?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like I never even delved into exploring like small business loan or anything like that because I was like the needs I have are not to that level where I need to go to a bank, where I need to fill out a bunch of forms, where I need to have this like big business plan to how I'm going to pay this off, and then also just the pressure of like I'm accepting this thing that I, now have to figure out how to make me money. It was more just like there's some things I want to, some subscriptions I want to test out, and just kind of that freedom to experiment without feeling bad about it or without having to immediately make that experiment pay off. I just needed a little bit of space to make some of those investments, and this made a lot more sense than any other method, especially because no interest, right? Like the ability to just give me time,
Yeah.
because running a business takes time. Like anybody you talk to that starts a business of any kind, a lot of, most of the time they're like, in that first year, like I was grinding, I made $0. Or even that second year, for me, like my first year in business was actually really good. The second year, because of me kind of switching where I was headed in the direction, things took a dip. And when you have that space to withstand kind of turning the cruise ship, it just made it so much more valuable, without having to like, you know, I don't know, I could just pay the rest of the credit card off right now and never use it again. And I'm not
Yeah.
like stuck with this like loan, this like
Yeah.
chunk of money that I've got to do something with. Um, it just gave me that. Yeah, I think the emphasis, the thing I would say over and over again is just the freedom to experiment, the freedom to not feel the pressure to make it happen right now, but to make some long-term decisions, pay for some stuff long term, and um, also, I think the discipline to, you know, I've closed some deals, gotten some cash in. So now I've gone in and I've paid off, a good chunk of what I kind of accrued, because I don't want to look back in November and be like, oh my gosh, like I haven't saved this back. Like trying to be just disciplined
Yeah.
about that too, because that is the other side of it, is the risk of going free money, right? Like
Yeah.
obviously it's not, right? And
Yeah.
everyone knows that, but also people don't.
Yeah.
act like
Yeah.
that.
No, it's
And it's very, I mean, there's a couple times where I was like, I'm going to do the annual subscription on this. Hell, that's, whatever. And then now I'm like, I don't use that. Like, why did I, like, but the risk, we'll talk about this with the welcome bonus too,
yeah.
because like you do have to spend a certain amount to get that welcome bonus. And that's a great prize, but I have to calculate in my head because the welcome bonus is 75,000 miles,
Yeah.
right? And I know that there are ways, and please tell me how to maximize. I would love to hear this. But in my mind, I'm going 750
We're gonna
worth.
pump we're gonna
Right,
pump those numbers up big
right.
time.
Let's pump it up. I want to pump it up. But in my mind, I'm going,
Yeah.
okay, I'm let's say I'm just making these numbers up. Let's say I'm $1,000 short the day before that welcome bonus expires. I got to spend $1,000. Okay. Is spending that $1,000 worth 750 quote unquote dollars of miles? Well, maybe, maybe not. Now, hopefully you'll tell me, let's make it way more. But there's just like those
Yeah.
calculations of having to keep myself honest because that sounds amazing, right? Oh, I gotta get that. But if I'm $4,000 short,
Yeah.
would it be worth it? And
Yeah.
that's where I'm just, I want to spend on things that are good investments in the right amount of time so I can get there. And I've got a couple wish list items. Like I want to buy some good lav mics. That might be about $500. I don't need that right now. I
Yeah.
want to do that at some point. I'll probably do that before the welcome bonus because I'm like, okay, that's one of those kind of wish list investments that this can be helpful for, and I'll see a reward with
Yeah.
the points. But yeah, I mean, it's been it's kind of fun to be playing those games. But yeah,
I love it.
I want to hear Ross tell me how to maximize that so it's not just $750 of
We wanted to thank you for listening in and mention if you want help applying this to your own spending and trip planning strategy, that's exactly what the Reward Strategy Lab community is for. You can find details if you want to join within our show notes. Now, back on with the show.
Oh yeah, man.
points.
We gotta. Well, you'll if you spend six. I mean, if you're spending six, if yeah, with the card that you got, 6 grand in the first 3 months, and you're probably earning 1.52x. I mean, you're getting another 10 to 12,000 on top of 75. So you're coming out between 85 and 90,000 points, right? So that's
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, we want to pump those numbers up to two, three, right, $4,000 just depending on how you're using it. But I think a couple of things I just want to tee into before we move on
yeah,
are things that I took away are flexibility, you walking us through, like for business owners, just reducing financial stress, allowing you to focus in on, okay, I want to make these investments. This will pay off longer term. Margins aren't as tight. Right. It gives you that flexibility and also lets you see. But for people who are thinking about it too, it's like, don't just go get it for the welcome bonus. You need to have, if there's a $6,000 in 3 months, you need to realize, okay, do you have 2,000 each month that you can spend, or do you have a big trip or like for your business or big upfront expenses? That's the best way. If you do have big expenses coming up or you're going to spend that, that's the best time because then you're getting a welcome bonus. I always think a year out of like, okay, what do I have coming up? Whether it's real estate, business, right? And then like I got a card that I had all this travel coming up and there was a 90,000 welcome bonus and it gets 3x on travel. Like I knew, okay, all of my travel for business for 2025 and 2026, I'm putting on this card but you have to kind of think through and strategically outline that. So I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, man, I think for you, I mean, I can help walk you through like what I would think through. It's always about tying it to a trip, right? It's not
yeah.
just, hey, go do this. I think you have just from knowing you have specific use cases. You have a family, so your travel may be, different than mine. So it always just aligns with you get points. Then where do you want to go, and then how do you maximize them that way? So would love, I mean, for you, like once you earn that welcome bonus, what's the goal, right? What's the gold bucket at the end that you're going towards?
Yeah, so my wife and I at the end of April are actually going to she's going to run in the Big Sur Marathon in California. And so we got flights, to book for that. I know that's coming up. We actually already booked the flights, but we live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We moved here recently, and our families live in Texas, and so we have two boys, and so we've got to get from Chattanooga to Texas. Um, and Chattanooga has a great little airport. It's really convenient. I one time parked in a parking lot and got through security and at my gate within 4 minutes, which is pretty amazing. But it's very expensive to fly out of here because it's a smaller airport. There's not a lot of flights. And so, that's one of those things where it's like it's not like this like exotic thing, but there is this element of it would be a lot easier to not have to drive to Atlanta 2 hours or Birmingham 2 hours or Nashville 2 hours, then get on a flight, then fly the kids to Dallas, drop them off with their, grandparents, all of that. I'm like, but sometimes, flying four kids out of Chattanooga to Dallas, it might be $1,700, $2,000. And
Mhm.
Atlanta is going to be like 600. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So there's like, that is one of those things that is just like a freedom thing of like the freedom to be able to book out of Chattanooga if I want to. That's, and then we can go do this exciting trip. But that's like the one early one that we're talking about. And then we have some other trips just kind of long term. My son is 6 years old and he just loves travel. He loves geography. He has like a bucket list of all these places he wants to go. And I do too, and that's how I was as a kid. That's why I love traveling. And so having the ability to, yeah, let's go. Let's do that thing that we've been talking about, would be pretty amazing. And that's what I use my points for. I'm always using points. I'm always out of points because I've booked another trip for, whatever. So yeah, that's the plan right now.
Yeah, the earn and burn strategy is the best. I talk to a lot of people who spend a ton or travel a lot and they hoard points and
Mm.
they devalue at a 5% clip every year. So you're
Oh
pretty
wow.
much, yeah. So like people who go, oh, I've been a road warrior for 30 years and I have all these Marriott points. I'm like, well, you've had them for 30 years and they devalue at 5%. I'll just let you do the math.
Well,
So
that's
it's,
interesting. I've never let them last for a second, so I wouldn't even know that they
yeah,
devalue.
we're the same way, man. And that's why I always say it's always about like first, know what your expenses are, have the right cards, keep it simple, align those with it, rack those up as you have a business, as the business evolves, having the right cards in place to align with your expenses is step one. Like you mentioned, 0% interest cards are great when you need that buffer if you're doing it responsibly. But then once you have the points, it's understanding, hey, I'm not going to do that as cash back, or I'm not going to do that as a statement credit or Amazon or gift cards or book through the portal, right? We want to think through like, how do you get as much value out of your points, whether it's transfer partners for flights. And the biggest thing is just knowing your home airport because Chattanooga is going to be a little bit different than Charlotte. We're a American hub. So I know I'm either flying American or there's partners that partner with American where, I know here's the two or three partners and I know that Chase, Amex, Capital One, or Citi transfer to. So that's really it. Like I think people get overwhelmed. They go, there's hundreds of transfer partners. I'm too overwhelmed. It's like, no, just think about where your home airport is. For you in Chattanooga, I don't know specifically if there's a ton. That's
Yeah,
something.
it's mostly American and Delta.
Okay, cool. So then you would know, okay, the transfer partners for those specific ones, I don't know the specific flights availability that they have, but good ones to look at for American are the One World Alliance, and then for Delta would be Sky Miles. Delta notoriously is one of the most expensive carriers when it comes to points bookings. If you are you don't have, yeah, since you don't have, a lot of people use their Amex points on Delta, so that's kind of a tip. If you ever get Amex points, there's other ways to strategize and other
Hmm.
carriers that you can get more value out of, like Virgin. But for yeah, Chase, it just depends. I love having Chase for our hotels. I think if you're going to Big Sur, look up the Alila Big Sur. That is one of probably from I haven't been. That's somewhere that I want to go, but from having some of the top points and miles people in the industry come on my podcast, almost everyone says that's their favorite place. I think it comes out to be like, depending on peak time, and it usually books out pretty far out, but you could check. It usually can be anywhere from, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it's like 35 to 45,000 chase points, but it's worth it. It's all inclusive. So, even if you're doing 2 nights, and everyone raves about it. Goes for sometimes to be cash price of between 1,000 to 2,000, bucks a night. So that's where you're
Wow.
getting that value of, right. You have those 90,000 points. You and your wife use that welcome bonus to go get $2,000 to $4,000 worth of value. Like that's you're aligning it with that specific trip. Like we just got an Amex bonus. We want to go to Japan. We're going to Japan next year. That covered our flights, business class flights there, and then coming back, we'll use another card. But like we're structuring it around that trip, right? So that
Yeah.
doesn't mean, hey, go get your, welcome bonus and you should go to Japan. It's like you guys are already going there for the marathon. Like that's when you think about it, mapping it out over a year, like align the points with the destination.
Yeah. Talk me through that. So I have a pretty good idea of, all right, transfer to travel partners. That's a great way to use your points. And especially like in my situation where I have like my business card, I have a personal card, you know, kind of combining points. I think that would be a good way to do it, right?
Yes.
Transferring the travel partners. But people talk about the hotel thing a lot. I've never really done that. I know you can book through the portal, but walk me through that again, like I'm a 5-year-old. Um, how do people get these like great deals on hotels? Because I see that posted about a lot. Oh my gosh, we got this incredible hotel for X amount of points. Normally it's 3,000 a night. Um, we already do have a spot in Big Sur, but we're going to LA after that for a couple days. So I haven't booked the place for that. So I'm like, maybe that would be a good way to use the points as well as like finding a really great, cool
Yeah.
hotel there.
So
So
Hyatt is going to be your best friend when it
Hyatt,
comes.
okay.
They did just come out with some changes that will go into effect May that a lot of people in the industry are upset about. But if you book before May,
The
maybe.
trip's in April, so we should be
Okay,
good.
yeah. So I would say look up, top Hyatt hotels, and what'll happen is you can see the cash price, and you can see like if it's category 7, 8, it'll say like, for example, we're going to Vail in a couple weeks as we're recording this, and the place we're staying at is a cash value of like 1,200 a night for 35,000 chase points. So it like says that, and that's where you can see, the value of it. But a lot of the times, I mean, keeping it very simple, you can just, if you're going somewhere, just ask Google Gemini, hey, I'm going to Big Sur, or hey, I'm going to this specific place. Could you tell me the top hotels in this area that I could use these points at? So that's a very simple tactic that you could leverage.
So in that case, again, you're transferring to Hyatt points, like
Yeah,
transferring travel partners.
yeah,
you're not booking through the portal, right? Like
exactly.
not booking
Yeah,
through the Chase portal.
yeah,
Okay, you
and then
get
you
more
just go
value that way.
exactly, and then you go into the port. You go into the travel rewards area, and it'll say transfer to partners.
Okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's the same way like with airlines where you're going to get more value for your points by transferring it to Hyatt than booking through the Chase portal,
Yeah,
theoretically.
most of the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Well, I'll look into that. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I've been a big Airbnb guy, like always. Like I prefer that over hotels. But with the deals I'm getting, through the points and Airbnbs are not usually cheaper anymore. So,
Yeah. Well, if and that's too where like having that strategy and having flexibility. If you're a listener, it's like, is it just you and your wife? If it's just you and your
yeah.
wife, it's a lot easier, right? Because
Oh
you're
yeah.
just.
Oh yeah.
But when it's kids, it's like deciding, okay, what makes more sense? Is it just get an Airbnb, use the points for the flights, and that's where having a strategy comes into play.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, with the kids, yeah. Airbnb all the way. Get your own room, like
Yeah.
close the door to the,
Yep.
whatever. But hotel makes a lot more sense with, just the without the kids and
Yeah, man.
yeah. That's a good point.
Well, cool, man. This was fun. I appreciate you hopping on. I appreciate you sharing. If there's one thing you want to leave our listeners with, just around if they had questions around, getting a card, travel, if this is overwhelming, I know, you've kind of gotten a little bit more in tune with the points game just from us meeting, probably, gosh, 6, 7 months ago, like what would you leave that person with?
Well, I would say follow me on Instagram at Scott Bedgood, and I'll tell you the secrets. No, I'm just kidding. But you should do that. And check out my videos and stuff on YouTube, Scott Bedgood, um, or Scott Bedgood Comedy. It doesn't matter. You'll find me. I'm the only one doing comedy. But yeah, I mean, I think the main thing I would say is just if you are disciplined to begin with, and like you said, have a strategy, this can provide you a lot of freedom and deload some of that stress that comes with being a business owner, um, and allow you to make longer term investments in yourself and your business.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on again, listeners. We will include Scott's social links that he just mentioned in the show notes, and make sure you go follow him. He has a very funny newsletter. He has a very funny clips that he does. Some of his stand-up comedy is very funny, and he goes on tour with some big people. So, and he one day will be one of those headliners. I have faith in him. So, keep it up, Scott. I really appreciate you coming on again. He's Scott Bedgood. I'm Ross Alcorn. We will see you next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Really appreciate you tuning in today. Before you go, again, if you're new here, grab my free 5-step roadmap to your next free 5-star luxury vacation and the one card that gets you there in the show notes. The main takeaway from today is you don't need more time or money to travel better. You just need a simple plan and the right strategy in place. My final thought is travel is supposed to feel exciting, not overwhelming. Take one thing you learned today, apply it this week, and your next trip gets easier starting now. We'll see you next episode. Really appreciate you tuning in.